friends, and welcome back to the Sweat Simple podcast. My name is Brooks Herbis, and I'm an online fitness, nutrition, and mindset coach who's here to help you simplify and make sense out of the all too confusing fitness and nutrition industry. Let's be real, there's a lot of conflicting information online, and it can be hard to know what's legit and who to trust. In every episode, I'll be sharing the science and psychology behind health, fitness, and long-lasting behavior change. But I'll also be sharing real-life practical application because all of the best info in the world only matters if you can actually apply it to your real life. So grab a coffee, water, glass of wine, or lace up your walking shoes, and let's dive in.
Welcome back to the Sweat Simple podcast. If you are listening in real time, it is back to school time. It's August. My sister's a first grade teacher. I know she's back at school, which is crazy to me because I grew up in Michigan and we do not start school until after Labor Day weekend. So it is crazy to me that here in Colorado and other places in the country, people are back to school in mid-August. It feels like even though you're ending school earlier, it just feels like summer is shorter. But anyways, because of the time of the year, I really wanted to do a podcast on the topic of habit discontinuity, because this fall period, when a lot of us are experiencing changes to our schedule, maybe you're a teacher yourself, so you're going back to work, maybe your kids are going back to school, maybe it's an even bigger life change, like you just moved, you had a baby, you got a new job. Any of those big changes to your schedule, your daily routine, those are the times that a lot of us want to press pause on our goals. A lot of us want to say okay, now is not the time to be doing anything new. I need to just take a beat. I need to adjust to this new routine. And then once I'm in the group, once I'm in the new routine, then I'll start working on my health and fitness goals. And that's a mistake because the research actually shows the opposite. It shows that during these times of change, that is a really good time to build new habits. And why is that the case? So if we go back to the definition of a habit, it is not what most people think. A lot of us say my health and fitness habits, and what they're really talking about is behaviors or routine. A true habit is something that happens on autopilot. You have to use very little cognitive effort to get that thing done. There's almost no thought happening to actually doing that thing. So an example would be getting up and brushing your teeth in the morning. It's probably a habit. You're not getting up and going into the bathroom and being oh, okay, do I need to brush my teeth? Should I brush my teeth? I don't really feel like brushing my teeth. It's probably just happening and it's on autopilot. You get up and you pick up the toothbrush without even thinking about it. And that is a true habit. We're not putting in a lot of effort. And for a lot of us, we are in Groundhog's Day. Most of what we're doing throughout the day is habitual. Most of it is on autopilot. We are on autopilot, not putting much thought or effort into things for most of our day. And I should have pulled the stat. That was my bad, because it's an insane amount of little things that we do throughout the day are automatic. We're not putting mental effort towards doing those things. And you can probably relate to that. Maybe you sit down at your desk in the morning for work and you have this moment of, how did I even get here? You did a ton of habits in the morning. You turned on the coffee maker. You made the exact same breakfast. You drove to work without even thinking about what was happening. You're just on autopilot. You are on go mode. You weren't even conscious that these things were happening. But when we have a change, so when we get a new job, when your kids go back to school, during COVID, when all of a sudden our lives were extremely interrupted for this extended period of time, all of a sudden that shakes things up. It gets you off autopilot. You're having to turn on your prefrontal cortex a lot more and using a little bit more cognitive effort in order to go about your day. Which, as I'm sure you could see, getting off autopilot is giving us a really good time to introduce new habits, new behaviors, or new routines. So we think that because we're heading into this like big period where there's so much newness that you're like, I don't want to add anything else that's new. I just am going to like, keep things the same. And then once that feels good, then I'll get into this new habit and routine with exercise. But the truth is that it is much easier to introduce new habits and new routines when you're off autopilot mode before your new schedule becomes ingrained, before your new schedule becomes Groundhog Day. Because imagine what would happen if, when that schedule does feel like you're on autopilot and when that schedule does start to feel like Groundhog's Day, it includes the new habits that you were trying to build. So, how much easier would it feel if you started these new things when everything about your schedule was new, when it felt easier to fit in that workout because all of a sudden you had more of a blank slate? And I know it feels sometimes like you have more on your plate, especially if your kids are going back to school or whatever it might be, but just give yourself that opportunity to try something new, to try to implement one of these new habits when your whole schedule is already in shakeup mode, when you're already out of Groundhog's Day. And I literally just worked through this with one of my one-on-one coaching clients. She's a teacher and she was like, well, maybe I'll just like this first couple weeks back at school, maybe I'll just like bump my calories up to maintenance, like give myself more flexibility. This is like, I just want to like be able to adjust and adapt. And I was like, okay, cool. Like that could be a good approach. I want to be clear, like this coaching relationship, this is always a teamwork relationship. It is super important to me that my clients have a lot of autonomy and you are always leading the situation. I like to say, like, you are the boss of your own life. You know what is going to work best for you. But because I'm certified in health mindset and behavior change, it's important to me that I ask you these follow-up questions to really get to the root and help you think a little bit deeper about these things, as opposed to just telling you what to do or telling you what not to do. So when my client told me that, when she was like, I think I just want to be in maintenance, I just want to like give myself more flexibility, I was like, amazing. That could be a good approach, but I'm curious, like, if you think that it will then be easier or harder to find your new routines the deeper into the year you get. And she was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. It would be harder if, instead of just figuring this out now, I was giving myself this flexibility. And then like 2 weeks into the year, I was having to adjust my schedule again, because instead of dealing with it when it first came up, and instead of like initiating what this new schedule and this new routine looked like right away, all of a sudden you're already figuring out a new routine just by going back to school, changing your job, having a baby. And then 3 weeks later, a month later, let's be real, sometimes it's 4 months later, all of a sudden you're having to then try to create a new schedule again. So you're doing the work twice. So what if instead we did it once? And when your schedule was already changing, when you were in this period of adapting, that is when we started to add these habits in and we started the new routine. So with that one-on-one coaching client, what we did is we mapped out their new ideal. And I do this with all of my clients. Whenever you're going through a big life change, it will require some adjusting to your current health and fitness behaviors, most likely. So what I always have them do is map out their new ideal. So let's say you're starting a new job and you have a commute, but you really want to become someone who wakes up and works out in the morning. Like, you really want to get up for morning workouts. It never happened in the past for you, but you want to make it work now. Cool. What does that look like on a weekly basis? What days are you working out? What time are you getting up? Then I want you to think about, like, what might make this hard? What are the things that prevented me from being a morning workout person in the past? Are those things going to still be barriers? I also want you to just give your permission to use the first few weeks as a trial period. If something isn't working, don't like say that you're failing. Don't get really down on yourself. Just get curious. What do we need to change? What do we need to adjust? How can we make you more successful, as opposed to just saying, well, this isn't working? Give yourself that time to adjust to this new schedule, this new routine, and get curious if something isn't working so that you can troubleshoot in the moment. I want you to remember too, especially if you are someone who has some of these behaviors. So maybe like you are a new mom, and before you had your baby, you were like on point with your health and fitness, and now it's feeling a lot harder to get to the gym or to eat the sorts of foods you used to eat because you don't have as much time to prep. That is super, super common. But if you already have that strong foundation, you're not starting from scratch. Same thing if you are going back to school or you are starting a new job. You already have a strong foundation of these habits. The initial friction to introduce them again in this new capacity, in this new schedule, it's not going to be as hard because you've already done it once. You won't have as much friction as you're building the habits as you did the first time. So there is going to be an adjustment period. There is going to probably be some trial and error. It might feel difficult at first, but it will feel easier than it did the very first time that you built these habits. And if you're brand new to this, you've never gotten a good routine with health and fitness, that's okay. And I think it's really, really huge that you're wanting to start now. And again, same thing. It's going to feel hard at first. You're not going to be perfect. That's not the goal. But how can you keep practicing? How can you keep showing up and figuring out what this new normal might look like for you? So remember, if you are about to go through a big change, having a baby, going back to school, your kids go back to school, you're getting a new job, don't shy away from adding or changing your health and fitness behaviors because you think it might be too much too soon. This is the best time to capitalize on your brain getting off of autopilot and adding in new routines. There is so much research to suggest that this could actually be the best time to start up these health and fitness habits. So if that is what you want to do, I would love to work with you one-on-one. You can apply at the link in my bio, but really just remember that like this is going to take some time, but it's a really good time to start practicing. So that's all I've got for you guys this week. Don't forget, I choose one person every single month to win a free personalized fat loss blueprint with me. All you have to do is share this episode on your stories and tag me or leave a review because that helps me grow this podcast. And I'm just going to be real with you guys. I have big goals to grow this podcast and really help more people. I don't think a lot of people are talking about health and fitness in this way when it comes to long-term behavior change. And I want to be able to help more people and recognize that it's not just about calories and it's not just about workouts. And the best way for me to help more people and to grow is when you guys share me with your family, with your friends, on your story, when you leave a review. So I really, really appreciate the support. And I will talk with all of you guys next week.